Okay, so got 5 degrees. 5 degrees, it's about as cold as it gets, middle of winter, early in the morning. That's 40 Fahrenheit. Okay, 1995 2.6 Isuzu pickup. It's known here as a Holden Rodeo, and it's got the 2.6 high torque engine. Okay, so we've got 80/90 transmission fluid. This is it's not an automatic. It's got a shift transmission, and so we've got this pump here. You just put this bit here in the container that goes into the gearbox, and you squeeze this to bring the oil from the container into the gearbox. Around here on the right side of the vehicle, we've got, at the back of the gearbox, we've got a drain, and on the side of the gearbox, just up there, we've got a fill plug, and we'll fill it up to the level of that plug. Okay, so we'll go and do some gearbox work and change the oil out. As I've said before, this is a 1995 vehicle, and it's got 310,000 on it. So this will be the original gearbox oil. Okay, so I just want to emphasise that this is a gearbox with a shift lever. It's not an automatic. It's a manual transmission. Before draining the oil out of the gearbox, I've made sure that I can remove both of the drainage and fill up nuts on the gearbox, and I've also made sure that I can get the oil from the container into the gearbox. These are fairly big bolts, and I'm just using my torque wrench to undo and do up the nuts. The socket size is 24mm. Okay, so I'm doing about 20-25 kilometres, highway speeds, back roads, all different types of driving, just to warm up the gearbox, warm up the oil, get any metal filings in with the oil as I change it out. And I must say that it's a very nice day today. Cool start, but beautiful day. Well, there's the top of the drain plug on the gearbox, and you know, that looks pretty dirty to me. I don't know if it's magnetic. If it's magnetic, that would be metal filings. Yeah, it's magnetic, yeah. Yeah, that's metal filings. And that's dished out and full. So yeah, I get the feeling that the gearbox oil isn't going to be very clean. Yeah, so pretty much straight away you can see all the metal shining in the oil there. So I've got a small magnet tip, you know, aerial type fold out thing here, and just see what we get. So we can see at the tip there it's looking fairly clean. I can't actually see any metal. Oh, there's some metal there. Yeah. You may be able to pick up on the clouds of metal in that oil. Just going to put a bit of silicone on the thread, because that's what they did at Japan back in 1995. Okay, so the drain plug is removed. When I tried to get it back in as a test to see if it would go back in the thread, it was a little bit hard. There seemed to be a little bit of maybe aluminium thread just within the threads here. I removed that and just cleaned up the threads, and it seemed to thread in pretty easily. Okay, so it's just a simple matter of taking this cap off. Then this pump has got a plunger, and that will sit inside the can there, and this will go into the gearbox, this one here, and fill it up, replace the plug, take it for a test drive, and job done. Okay, so I've got the can underneath the vehicle next to the gearbox. This thing is worth its weight in gold, I reckon. It only cost about $6.50 in 2015. So it's a little ripper. You might be able to see the plunger working inside there, inside the pump. It's actually two plungers, one vertically and one horizontally. You're far better off with a manual gearbox than an automatic. I go on a fair few forums like Yahoo Answers, and I subscribe to a fair amount of, well, any good mechanic on YouTube, and the amount of stories coming through about automatic transmissions breaking is incredible. If you've got an automatic transmission, probably the best thing you can do is to change the oil regularly from an early, you know, as soon as you get your car, when the car's got low kilometres, just change the oil regularly. But I'd definitely get a manual transmission. Okay, so we've got oil coming out of the gearbox now. You might be able to see some just start to come out of the gearbox. So I'll just take this out, and we can see now that it's is fairly full. Okay, so the job took close to 4 litres, and when you've got your pump and you're filling up your gearbox, don't shove the end into your gearbox too far. The reason for that is you want to see as soon as it starts to overflow. It overflowed by about half a cup or so, so there's a few tips. Another thing is, this is a manual gearbox, and you saw how dirty the oil was. Well, you can just imagine how dirty the oil would be in a 1995 car with a automatic gearbox. So you can probably see there all the metal filings in the oil. Looks like a 1970s reflective paint motorbike tank or something like that. There's a lot of metal in there. Okay, so that's got a few metal filings from the previous oil change, but you can see there, that's what clean oil is supposed to look like. If you don't change your gearbox oil, the problem with that is you've still got all the metal filings from the run-in process, plus all the wear and tear throughout the years. So it's a really good idea again to keep the oil clean. Another tip is with your plugs or your bolts for the drainage and for the fill up, just be careful you don't strip out the aluminium gearbox housing or the thread. So you don't want to tighten them up too much, just snug them up, make sure they won't come undone. Okay, so take her for a spin, make sure she's all good, and that's the job done. Okay, so yeah, she's all good. Gearbox feels nice and smooth, so over and out. Bit of a quick tip, this is roof and gutter silicone, and I had a bit of a hole here where it was wearing thin, and I put a bit of Glad wrap, or thin plastic that you wrap your food up to take to work, put that underneath so it wouldn't stick to anything, and I spread the silicone around, and that'll go quite a few extra miles further.